What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Roots. So I'm going to review a collaboration mixtape by Lil Baby and Marlo. Basically, this product is called To The Hard Way, and it came out in the fall of 2017. So there was a series of Lil Baby mixtapes back in 2017 when he first came on the scene that were pretty excellent to get. One of which was Perfect Timing and another which was Harder Than Hard, both of which I gave pretty much over like a 9 out of 10. Particularly, I remember giving Harder Than Hard, the DJ Drama, Gangsta Girls like a 10 out of 10. Some pretty excellent type fare there. So Lil Baby was definitely on a good gold streak as far as those pitches can happen. Definitely had the Midas touch, would have to say. This continues that trend as far as those pitches kind of happen, and along for the ride, Lil Baby brings with him a former collaborator, Marlo. So it's a pretty excellent type pitch. Wonder what happened with him. Unfortunately, he is sadly deceased nowadays. Kind of got passed on back in 2020, I'd have to say, during the COVID years, but not from COVID. I'd have to say, but still an excellent type pitch. Kind of get this particular album here. It's some good, great type fare. Real stock highlight. I know Marlo probably would have been a gigantic force had he still been around nowadays within the pitch behind it. It's very unfortunate that these sorts of things were not able to manifest even further, because this was definitely a hit quality type product here. Wouldn't have thought that it was going to just unexpectedly kind of be short-lived, just the quality of this particular product. So it's one of those things like Black Panther from 2018, how that product of what was originally going to happen with that movie just didn't happen within that pitch. But this is some excellent type fare here, just very boisterous type stuff. You get some good taste of what Lil Baby was kind of on back in 2017 as far as those pitches. Some of those type fares, he has those typical kind of dark brooding type songs like The Roommate, and some of those type pitch like what was on Perfect Timing and Hard, and then the addition of Marlo to the style is pretty good pitch. Now I can't confirm as much with Marlo just because I don't know any projects that he's particularly kind of done, but I am going to eventually start checking some of those out just with the pitch behind it. I am going to start checking out some of his projects down the road. I'd have to say it was just some excellent type fare to kind of get this one all but on the cusp of being a classic here. Just real excellent type fare within this, snappy to the point, and most of these songs kind of hit the nail on the head pretty whammingly. Most of these songs kind of hit the nail on the head pretty whammingly, I'd have to say, just within the tone behind it. And this is a free mixtape, just being able to say that. This is probably one of the last ones within a relative sense that still was available for like Dat Piff and some of those type places, just within the tone. It's a good type fare. I would definitely scoop up, gobble up this particular mixtape. It's got some excellent type fares. Lil Baby's 3 for 3 with his 2017 mixtapes, and I'd have to say Marlo's got some excellent type fare as well as far as those pitches can happen. Now, there was at least one single off this project. Like I was saying, this is a snappy project. There's 9 songs on here, and out of those 9 songs, I wound up recommending 8. So the single off this project, or at least the song that had a music video, was To The Hard Way. So it's just some good type pitches. Lil Baby, once again, had a pretty explosive 2017 just within the pitch behind it. So he was on top of things. It's kind of virtually came on the scene and just got like a series of hit singles between like My Nigga, some of those type of ones. Or I don't know if it was My Nigga, but it was something. It was on, yeah, a big single that Lil Baby had in 2017 was My Dog. Pretty excellent type pitch. Gonna get that one. Got like some pretty good song and freestyle back in the late 2010s as far as those pitch can happen, just to say within the tone. But yeah, this one has at least a few hits on here in terms of like the commercial type appeal. I want to say, I'm not sure if there were any other singles off this particular product. I was looking around for it, but there was at least one music video, like I was saying. So let's kind of get towards it here. Really, this is excellent type concept here, just within the pitch behind it. Damn near every song, like I was saying, hits the nail on the head. But To The Hard Way, the title track, is the single off this. At least from what it seems, this is the only music video that really dropped, which is kind of unfortunate because there's some great songs on here like Big Timers, Rack Racing, Set Up Shot Remix that probably could have had some excellent type fare, even some sobering type ones like Chance and like Time After Time, some of those type ones, or even some sobering type ones like Chance and some of those type pitches, I'd have to say. But yeah, I'd say To The Hard Way is like a glazed kind of neighborhood makeshift to kind of get here. This is kind of a sobering type one on top of that. That's the other sober one I was looking for. This one's not quite as much like a frolic type song or like a turn up type one, but it's definitely within the pitch. This vintage Lil Baby within the tone. It's like some good, like I was saying, this is some good kind of glazed neighborhood makeshift to kind of get. Just makeshift cruise, I'd have to say. Beleaguered kind of day, I would definitely feel like just relative relief from that as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just some good relative relief music to kind of get here, and a great song to toke up to just in the whip or just around in the neighborhood as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just standard type fare, basically just like a trap sense of something you get from like alternative metal or post grunge, some of that type fare. It's not a rock song, but it just has that same simmering kind of autumn just malaise about it. Just goes within the tone. Just some good type fare for that. Pretty good tune to probably listen to in the autumn. Some of those type fares, just what I'd say, just to be leaguer type one, just vintage, like Lil Baby, the sort of stuff that he particularly does. It's a good concept. Now there are some songs on here that Lil Baby is unfortunately not on every single one. There's some folks on here like at least the song Chance, and I want to say that there's like another song on here that I'm trying to, I forget which one it was. I think it was Really Did It with Yogi, some of those type of ones that just kind of had the aspect that not every single song on here has Lil Baby on there, and he's on this particular project, but it's not necessarily hosted by Lil Baby, but it's just within the concept that I think this was trying to showcase like Marlo as far as those pictures, kind of get him the further shine and spotlight to get him about on the size of the popularity that Lil Baby was boisterously kind of having in 2017. So he is on every song in some fashion, at least if he's not on a verse on these songs, he is at least on the chorus of most of these, but it's just kind of the concept is kind of similar how some of those fashions kind of happen, that he's not like the dominant factor of every single one on here, but he is on here enough to be able to have like that vibe of just being thrilling as far as this pitch can have this good type tone. But yeah, like I was saying, basically I recommend every single song on here minus like the song What You Gonna Do, which unfortunately it's a disappointment because PNB rocks on that song and he's pretty good at doing like those R&B type hooks just within the fare, I'd have to say. But the thing about that particular song is just the fact that this is kind of like another B-leaguer kind of in-between type day type song, kind of similar to like Time After Time, I'd have to say. A little bit of To the Hard Way, just not as Malaise about it, but it's just kind of one of those type ones. It's kind of like a nostalgic type song just within the pitch behind it, but I just look at the aspect, somehow it just didn't nail it nearly as well as like the pitch of like some like that normal type fashion. Probably had to do more with like the production more so than the content of the song or the lyrics. It's kind of the context, it just was not that as much of like a sharp and kind of engaging listen is probably what was the necessity behind it. I mean, I like the fact that it was just kind of like a mellow, kind of almost rainy type day, but just within the pitch, it just kind of that in between type fare, just kind of like the conduit type moments, and just kind of like the tide shifting type moments, the page turning type moments. But I don't know, it just felt like the production fair as to how that was amalgamated didn't have like the full blown sheerness of it. But that's just the pitch. This album's still gonna get over a 9 out of 10. Let's go ahead and say this mixtape is gonna get like a 9.5 out of 10 just within the pitch behind it. 8 out of 9 is pretty excellent type fair within that, but so we'll just go down the court with some of these. Basically, the concept, one of the best songs on this project that has the most turn-up type appeal. This album is kind of like a vicious blend of like Lil Baby's dark type numbers that he normally does with some of that sobering, kind of nostalgic and like a dark sense. It's kind of the reminisce type tone and just like the standard glaze about it that he would do on like Perfect Timing and Harder Than Hard, some of those type of ones. Just with like the pitch of also having some of these trap turn up type ones that feel just like a Future or Travis Scott or one of those type folks songs that just would have those burners just that are just meant for Instagram cruise runs and just fast living as far as those pitch can happen. Section type favorite songs like Big Timers, Rack Racing, Set Up Shot Remix or some of those type ones that kind of have that appeal. There's some good kind of hangout type songs on here like Time After Time is for the ladies and My Niggas for the homies as far as those pitch can happen. Those are just more neighborhood type frolics. And then I would say Really Did It's like a cruise around that just is kind of in like a more pop rap type sense. And then on the other side of things, To the Hard Way is just in a more vintage Lil Baby type sound, just a more glazed type sense. But we'll go ahead and describe these so you know. We'll go ahead and describe these so you know what I'm talking about here. So Big Timers is like a racing kind of glitzy burn up of a song to kind of get here. There's some electro trap. I would definitely feel like some snapping about that just within the pitch behind how it particularly does it. This could have been a single. Probably I would have said this would have been a great music video to have gotten here. Real crunk night of going ham just within the pitch behind it. Definitely one of the more ferocious type ones to have within that aspect. Just some excellent type fare. Real great pitch to kind of have for some of this. This real good appeal that this particular product is free when you get songs of this quality. It has a real type of appeal. Another one just within that same lane and vein I'd have to say is the song Rack Racing. This real excellent type one. This is like this is definitely vehicle centric type one within the pitch. Some excellent type viciousness kind of get here. A lot of good thump for some of these. This works within that affair. Just great stuff if you find these particular mixtapes just to have some bops kind of have. But Rack Racing is like a glaring kind of vintage early 2010s trap boiler to kind of get here. It just feels like a classic dark Lil Baby. Definitely within that sense is like some good brooding about that and just like some cruise heat to kind of have within that tone. So Big Timers is more for a nightclub. Rack Racing is more just cruise around stunt type music, but they work within that fair as far as those pitches kind of happen with it. Really Did It's a nice one as well. It's like a fizzy kind of pop rap noise kind of get here. It just gives like a vanilla single kind of vibes about this one. This would be something that if you're going for more of like the direction of Flo Rida or like trying to think of some folks like Kanye West off of his album Ye, some of those type of pitches, just aiming for more like the actual Billboard 100 chart, something that's going to be with folks like Camila Cabello and some of those type of folks, more Good Morning America type crowd within the pitch. Not to have foulness towards that, but this is the pitch of just going for like a more vanilla type pitch. It's like a cleaner kind of radio grab to kind of get here, just mixtape wise that I'd say, and this has some good bass on the song. So I like the pop rap type of appeal about this song, but it does have some vehicle knock to kind of get this one to still say that hey, this is some wicked type shit to kind of have within that pitch as far as nailing it just within that tone. So it's just some good thump. This is a relatively in motion kind of project here. Just kind of the concept, definitely some stunt type tunes, kind of get just to jam out and just have that flex type music just within the tone behind it. I feel like in terms of like thinking of like a club type jam for something to really get crazy or complete blitzed out to in terms of like smoke heaviness, I'd probably say apart from My Nigga and Big Timers, there's not a super ton of those. But I would have to say that Setup Shop remix is a pretty nice bop to kind of get here. This is the remix. I don't know where the original one stemmed from. Maybe it was a Marlo song within that pitch, but it has Young Thug on here, which is pretty dope concept there. It's like a super more shrill kind of late 2010s trap burner. Definitely get here. One of the more vicious cuts off this album, along with Big Timers. Like I was saying, this is like a quick times kind of hit to definitely have this blurry kind of just going through the motions just within a quickness factor. Just every day is a kick-ass type day. 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 day within those pitches. I'd say just the excellent type tone. Some real type fares kind of get within that aspect. Yeah, Setup Shot remix is this overall vicious song kind of get on there. Just nice combination of like the stuff on here. I do like all these guests on here as well. Just it makes me question how many of these folks had some pretty boisterous mixtape careers within those pitches behind it. Some excellent type stuff. Chance is a nice one. Now this takes it back to like vintage kind of Lil Baby within the sense. This is like a sobering kind of relative makeshift trap kind of get here. Just a basic kind of malaise cruise around. Pretty similar to the Hard Way. It's a little bit darker within the sense. It's like some vintage kind of darker Lil Baby sheen kind of get out this particular song. Real nice appeal about this one as far as those pitch kind of happen. Unfortunately, Lil Baby's not really on this song, which is kind of the concept as far as saying that this would have been a nice one to kind of have that appeal. There's some new cats kind of trying out his particular styles just within the pitch behind it, but it is some excellent type fare within that. Is the aspect behind it. Do like the fact that there's some makeshift grabs on this particular product, so it has some relative commercial aspect. They weren't just aiming for like the hardcore rap charts. They had some extra aspects on here being able to do songs like Really Did It, and then like the more makeshift kind of glaze type vibes of like the To the Hard Way title track, the single, and then the song Chance and those type ones. So it does have like the aspect of being relatively commercial, having that aspect behind it. Just some good relief of just basically good for about 3 o'clock to about 5:30 pitches like that, even the evening drudge of just finishing up and paying those last bills at the mailbox and those type pitches, grabbing a snack at Wendy's, something like that. Those relative tones within it. Just the standard car dredge, just in the pitch, Tuesday, Wednesday type music. Time After Time is a nice one. This is like a light lit kind of trap frolic to kind of get here. This reminds me of Lil Yachty. I would definitely say even Lil Uzi Vert, just within a more kind of like frivolous type sense. It's like some good in between kind of residential moments. One of the few lady songs within the pitch of just like a more pop rap kind of just laid back and just kind of smooth factor within it, or just a more laid back and delicate type factor within it within a relative sense. This kind of aspect of just a little bit more polished towards it, and this is like some good basicness kind of have within that particular fare. So it's just the concept. Most of this is more just standard kind of just stone face kind of trap, just within the sense of like stunt and turn up, some smokage songs kind of thrown in, some makeshift, and just report to like the business as far as those pitches can happen. But this is actually one a little bit more pulled to the wayside as far as those pitches for like bays that just are kind of a handful within the pitch behind it. Some good type fare. It's a good aspect. So My Nigga's another highlighted one. This is a good bop to kind of get here. It's like a basic kind of homies vibe out. There's like a basic kind of homies vibe out to kind of get within that pitch. Just smoke sesh type tunes. Definitely would have to say just smoke more than 2 or 3 swishers. Had to stay within that fare. Some trap household ambience kind of get here. Definitely is like a feel good kind of cruise gel and snack type song kind of have within that fare. Just good standard conduct. Just spending the day with the homies as far as those pitches kind of happen. Watching some movies. Watching like Jackass or Mission Impossible. Some of those type pitches. One of those type ones, Minority Report. Some of those type fares just with an aspect behind it. Some basic kind of kick around as far as those pitches kind of having PlayStations on. Some of that type fare, pizzas, KFC, some of that type stuff. Standard batch just within the fare behind it. So that's the pitch behind how this particular album kind of has its sharpness about it. So I would definitely say, like I was saying, this mixtape gets a 9.5 out of 10 just within the fare, just real excellence just within the tone. I mean, I did kind of halfway like the aspect, I'd have to say damn near with the song What You Gon' Do with PNB Rocks, just kind of the pitch that the delivery of how it particularly happened was just not as full-blown drawn out with it, but the concept is just trying to be an in-between kind of just beleaguered type day just within the pitch, of just more kind of here and there. The social score, that's kind of another tricky one within the sense, just would almost have to say it'd be here and there. I mean, I think it's going to get over like an 8.75 or a 9 out of 10. It's just kind of a tricky one to figure out as to what the exact score could kind of be, because these songs are on here, has some makeshift songs on here, some pitches like that, songs like Chance and To the Hard Way, Really Did It, some of those type ones that do break even. rise above the spotlight and get towards some radio grabs and pitches like that. Some of those type fairs. There's even some like standard kind of more IG life type tunes and just more standard frolic and like a social sense like My Nigga, Time After Time, some trap turn up type ones. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this mixtape in terms of the social score like a 9.5 out of 10. It would get a 10, but it's just kind of the concept that Lil Baby is not as full blown dominant on this project. It's not that he isn't. It's compelling enough that he's on here within the pitch, but it is, you almost would have expected a little bit more promotion. I feel like this, the concept behind it just kind of delves almost into hardcore territory, which if you dive into this project, you realize that that's really not the case. But it's just kind of the concept in terms of like the aspect. It just makes me question how many downloads this project got on Dat Piff back in those days when Dat Piff was still around some of those type fairs. If it did have over 100,000, 200,000 pitches like that, just in the tone. But I think Lil Baby's definitely large enough, and Marlo has the shots of being able to have. Lil Baby definitely has those concepts, and Marlo is pretty good at getting those vibes as well as far as those pitches can happen. But it just feels like, in terms of like the commercial smash type appeal, I just don't know the chart appeal of this particular product, which it kind of blurs the lines somewhat. I mean, Lil Baby at least has some moments where he does cross over. At least he did back in his prime era, but it's just within the pitch as far as saying like the concept of like the commercial bite might be a little bit milder. So it'd either be like a 9.25 or 9.5 social, but just because of the quality of it, I'll give it a 9.5. But in terms of the future, the unfortunate thing is, once again, is Marlo is deceased, so there's not going to be any sequels to this particular product, but at least Lil Baby is around. He's working on some products that are going to come out in 2025 as far as those pitches can happen. I'm going to get to reviewing some more of these products, probably some more 2017 products by Lil Baby if there are any more, and then we'll start getting to further stuff as far as those pitches can happen. There's definitely plenty more to get to. By Lil Baby, and this is definitely a virtual classic here in terms of the impact, especially out of the late 2010s and new era kind of trap music.